Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Well done, OP. I love the revenge, and I can see that the two of you found it fun to do, which makes it even better. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Disabled Parking Revenge. I was at my work driving a specially adapted van for the person I support who's disabled and uses a wheelchair. The van has a large electronic ramp that extends outwards at least 3 meters in length. There are numerous disabled stickers and one on the rear of the van asking for a minimum of 3 meters space to give if parking behind it. This is important. We'd gone out for a walk in some woodlands and parked in a lay-by next to the side of the road. There was no one parked behind us when we left the van. The lay-by was opposite a small village cafe. When we returned to the van, a car was parked less than half a car's length behind the van, and getting the person I support into the van with a car blocking us wasn't possible. I had a suspicion that the occupants of said car were in the cafe over the road, but due to it starting to rain, I wasn't able to confront them. Instead, I did the next best thing. I chose to cause a scene. I pulled the van out into the middle of the narrow road with the hazard lights on and made sure to take my sweet time getting the person I support safely into the van and ensuring their chair was safely fastened into the van. I could see the people watching from the cafe looking quite embarrassed and staring in disbelief. Even funnier still is there was quite a bit of traffic on both sides because of their actions. I have no regrets and enjoyed my petty revenge at making a massive scene. I do hope they learned their lesson, but I doubt it. Myself and the person I support found it amusing, getting a bit of petty revenge, and hopefully they think twice next time. I have no doubt we were probably the talk of the village that day. At least one coach had to wait, and a lot of cars. Please don't block disabled vans in with large ramps. The signs are there for a reason, and it can cause a lot of problems if you do. Yes, I'd do it again in a heartbeat, as the person I support's largely nonverbal and shouldn't have had to have an issue like this. And our second story. Yes, we'll give you recommendations. I'm a professor at a state university for the past 17 years and teach pre-health and pre-med students. I've many stories, both good and bad, but I've never felt the need to retaliate against a student. Until one day, I met my nemesis. This student wanted to go to medical school, though they were of very middling intellect and came off as socially inept and personally odious. I and my class stood in her way, so I had to be shoved out of the way on her route to being a healer. She figured the best way to get ahead was to be the squeaky wheel and complain about everything. In academia, if you complain enough about a class, we'll give you a high grade and send you up to the next poor B word for you to torment, rinse, and repeat. So Nemesis went all out to find everything and anything to complain about. Exam had 80 questions on it, syllabus said 75 questions. Complained. Lecture notes were released in a format that was based on PDF, but the student wanted PowerPoint? Hell no. Complained. Missed in-class questions on quizzes and materials wasn't covered in lecture? Readings, children? I assigned them for my health? Complained. Inappropriate language in lecture, anatomy class. Penis, penis, penis. But always anatomically correct. Complained. I didn't return her emails the same day she wrote them. Complained. Everything I did, said, or thought about, complained. By the end, she had escalated all these issues all the way to the top, and I got called into the dean's office. My administrators above me have worked with me for years, giving me no fear of a student going over my head with a complaint, but this student tried. Dean, OP, this student has sent more than a dozen complaints to the administration. Me, just a dozen? I was betting far, far more. Dean, normally we would let this pass as this student's known for doing this and has even involved legal counsel in previous classes, but you've somehow exceeded her previous complaint record by a factor of 3, and none of her other instructors this semester have gotten 1. She singled you out for complaints, and some arguably appear to be about you specifically targeting this student. Yeah, in clinical cases, I replaced all the patients' names with her first name, even if the patient was a guy. But her name was very common, and there were 3 other ones with that name in class. So go easy, don't antagonize her, just ride it out and be done with it. Me. Thanks, Dean. Good talk, bro. My nemesis kept it up. I gave her a higher grade than she deserved, which I believe was the whole point as she needed the grades for med school. Then I washed my proverbial hands. A year later, I was assigned to be the committee head of the faculty that create group letters of recommendation for medical school applicants, and she submitted the form for our committee to create her recommendation packet. Students can and should waive the right to read these evaluations. If you're afraid of what a professor will say about you, don't ask them for a letter. My nemesis made sure to point out to the committee in a formal letter that because of problems with all of the professors that would be writing letters, she wanted to make sure their letters were appropriate and of the correct tone and content before we sent them off. Therefore, she would review them before approving them for inclusion in her packet. Nobody wanted to drop the atom bomb on her and write a true letter, as you know, lawyers, and she'd see all these letters, as would her counsel, before we sent them. So our hands were tied. But one brave soul went around and solicited her letters' writers into creating sublime choruses of praise. These would be the letters you would expect to read to the Nobel Committee about Hawking, Einstein, Newton, and Feynman. We're talking true works of art. Nobody would believe that a student with this background or MCAT score could get one of these eulogy masterpieces, let alone a whole panel. And I included a note from the committee stating that the student had previously filed academic complaints against each and every professor that wrote her a letter. Therefore, these letters may not reflect her true academic potential. We got our FERPA letter to check this with a fine-tooth comb, but our committee had a duty in our committee recommendation letter to inform those reading the professor's individual recommendations if there may be a mitigating circumstance or formal action that could influence the veracity and quality of the recommendations. The student didn't have the right to see that part unless they request it later, after the letters have been sent out, unfortunately for them. So she carpet-bombed the medical schools with primary applications. Every MD, DO, and offshore school that existed got one. The cost must have been staggering, but with parents that can afford lawyers for their brat and undergrad, I'm sure they footed the bill gladly to get her out of the house. Within her application packet came those beautiful letters and those 3 explosive paragraphs explaining that this student filed academic complaints against every letter writer and did not waive the right to keep their letters secret. It doesn't take a genius on the admissions committee of each of these schools to read between the lines on this one and drop that application in the trash before granting an interview. She did not get one interview. More than 30 applications, not one school invited her to continue her application process. That gets a professional booyah. And for those of you whose lives I may have saved by preventing her from becoming the most litigious and incompetent doctor imaginable and screwing up treatment to you and your loved ones, you're most heartily welcome. And our last story. We have an HOA. Moved into a neighborhood a month ago. We're renting through a large home rental company. I got an email Wednesday saying our account was being fined $25 a day through the HOA for our trash cans being visible. Okay, I get it. I know that's usually a rule in HOA neighborhoods. But what the rental company failed to tell us was that there was even an HOA. How the hell are we supposed to know what the rules are if we don't even know there's an HOA in the first place? So I go searching around the internet looking for the rules for our HOA. I check the neighborhood website, which I don't think has even been updated in several years, and find nothing. I ask on Nextdoor, and someone sends me the link to the neighborhood website. That's all I got. We fixed the problem right away, no big deal. I emailed the rental company back, letting them know we moved the trash cans into the garage, and could they please send me some info on the HOA we knew nothing about so that we didn't make any other mistakes? Got an email back that day, Wednesday, asking for pictures for proof. It's storming out, but I get the pictures. Still no info on the HOA. I don't get back an email until today, Friday, that says the HOA has stopped the fines on the account, but the violation is still open since this is an ongoing issue. The violation will be closed out after 3 months of a clean record. Ongoing issue? I think I had them out a week. I don't know at this point because I didn't even know it was an issue to begin with. And yes, I know the I don't know excuse is usually a terrible excuse, but we really didn't know. Oh, and still no information on the HOA. And to top it off, my husband and I are both jobless right now. We have no extra money to spend, so that makes this even more stressful. I've been trying to be cooperative, but if they still don't get back to me on HOA info, I'm going to lose my crap. Edited to clarify that the rental company, who owns the house, contacted me about the HOA fining us. They even sent pictures as proof from the HOA, but the rental company hasn't even acknowledged my request for details on rules and regulations. The first few weeks we lived here, I kept the cans in the garage, but this past week, after trash was picked up, I decided to leave them against our garage door outside to make more room to get in and out of the car in the garage. I had no reason to think it was an issue. They called it an ongoing issue, but only contacted me this Wednesday. Another update. I took a look at the 3 pictures they sent me as proof. Each of them are a creepy drive-by pic, but anyways, I looked closely at the picture. 2 out of the 3 are from before we even lived here. I looked at our front door from the first picture, and the damn doorknob is on the opposite side of where it's at currently. And just a reminder, we moved in here last month. The second picture taken, there's a huge bush that's no longer in our front yard. The bush was not there when we moved in. The third picture's us, our bad. I didn't know the rules at the time, so this bullcrap about us having an ongoing issue is BS. Edit. I'm starting to think that this neighborhood doesn't have an HOA, but that the rental company is using an outside company called Tully. Joy. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.